Did you know Echoplex has a 24-hour stream? That's right. Check out our 24/7 music stream at echoplexmedia.com/live or at eplex.xyz. Our huge self-submitted local music library plays the best tunes the Bay Area has to offer, and commercial free, well, except for ours, and even by request. Check out the player on echoplexmedia.com or at eplex.xyz. Bookmark it and enjoy it all day. Echoplex is very supportive of our local music scene, and we hope you enjoy the soundtrack they've so graciously sent in for us to play on our network. If you like who you hear, please go check them out. The names of the artists are displayed on the player at echoplexmedia.com and at eplex.xyz.
Shakes as the bass creates a space where your past is discarded. A pretty thing like you should never look so blue. Come on, the night's just started. 150 people in this house, but if you follow me, I'll get you the best seats. 150 people in this house.
Right, tonight it's you, it's me, and it's the whole damn internet, or anybody that chooses to listen. What's up? My name is Chip DeVille. This is Local Love. You are here with us at echoplexmedia.com. Thank you for tuning in live on Twitch, and if you're listening to the podcast, bless your soul. Now go and share that shit. I am here tonight with our guest Seal Party, but first, that song that we just heard was 150 People by First in Flight, a local band who is actually going to be having their farewell show this month at Art Boutique. They had a hell of a run. We're proud to say that we gave them their first interview, and then eventually they got pretty cool, a little too cool for us, but still, it's going to be a good show. They always put on a great show. They've got great stage presence. But tonight, as mentioned before, I have Kevin and Chris from Seal Party, local band from out in the Bay Area. You guys are from San Francisco, correct?
Yeah, he's San Francisco. I'm East Bay, so
Nice.
we meet in like Yerba Buena Island or something like that.
Right on. Between us all, we make a triangle.
That's right.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Chip.
definitely, man. I'm so glad you guys could make the journey out. And also thank you for sending in your music. For those of you that are maybe new to the show, all the music that you hear on this show is submitted by the artists themselves. It not only is a great way for us to network with artists, it's also how we don't get sued for playing their music on our podcast or on our live streams. So it's good for covering our ass and for introducing you guys all to new music.
Always important.
Yeah. We also have a 24-hour stream of music of all the music in our library, or most of it. And you can tune into that by going to echoplexmedia.com/radio or eplex.xyz. But great way to find some new bands, find some bands that you maybe didn't even know existed, and you can do a little bit deeper digging. But yes, tonight, Seal Party. Kevin, Chris, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing well.
I'm great.
Doing well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. How'd you guys hear about this show?
Mastodon.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I found you on Mastodon. I had just sort of been swimming away from the waters of Twitter, and you're one of the first things I found on Mastodon was Echoplex Media.
That's all producer Dave right there. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Well done, producer
That's
Dave.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. So, and then you guys are both have pretty extensive backgrounds in the music scene, from what I've been.
We've been at this a long time in a variety of configurations and with a lot of different people. So yeah, we've played on other people's records, produced other people's records.
Mhm.
Chris is much more of a studio animal than I am.
Okay.
He's a producer, engineer, session drummer. I do my share, but he really lives and breathes studio
Well,
work.
then drummers, I feel like are all kind of renegades to some degree. You know, like
Absolutely.
they go where they're needed. You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah, and in this case, I figured out that if I just get a really great setup in an awesome room, then the music will come to me. I can do it at home, or not at home, but my home studio.
That's
Right.
great.
Right.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's nice to I get to work at one of the best studios ever built. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
great. It's at High Street Studios up in
Yeah.
Studio
Oh.
C.
I've
Yeah.
heard of that place before. From
Yeah,
brother,
and so I'm pretty blessed to be part of that place and get a chance to make records there, which is what I've always wanted to do. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so now Seal Party is a bit of a newer project, correct?
It is. We just put out our first record.
Uh-huh.
So it's Chris and me and whichever people manage to make it to the party that day,
Okay.
really. So different songs have different players on it. Some of the people are Bay Area, some of them are Chicago, New York, depending on who's coming through town.
I had noticed that actually. I was doing a bit of homework on you guys, like checking out the Bandcamp and everything like that. And I noticed a few different tracks would have different singers and
Mhm.
almost a whole different vibe or sound, you know?
Yeah.
There wasn't any one genre I guess I could stick some of them to. It would be like, you know, I'd hear kind of a more rocky song and hear a little bit more of like a, you know, chill, mellow song.
Mhm.
I don't know. It was really cool. You guys got a very wide range of what you do. I like that.
Thank you.
We've always
Thank-
kind of liked to write that way. You know, even when we've worked in previous bands, we're kind of let the song dictate the style, not the other way around.
That's
Mhm.
cool.
So that way, you know, and,
Yeah.
you know, we all learned a bunch of songs coming up. We have all these different styles under our belt from playing in the studio stuff. And don't let Kevin fool you. He's a masterful studio musician, and I wouldn't be able to make my records without him, really.
Ah.
'Cause, you know, he brings a deep knowledge and really great attitude. So, you know, we kind of just got a versatile. We just expanded our tastes, I guess, by doing all these different kinds of music, and it gets infused into what we're writing.
And I'm glad that Chris was open to having different songs feature different singers and different guests that way, because I think for both of us, a lot of our favorite albums are super eclectic,
Yeah.
and we wanted to make something that had the flavors of all these different people. So, you know, we had Renee Padgett come in and sing lead. We had Zanubis come in and rap over an entire song. It just made much more sense for that to be a hip hop track rather than,
Huh.
you know, just a rock track.
That's cool.
And thankfully, you know, we have these incredibly talented friends who are open for coming over and just adding to it and jumping into the fray. And
Yeah, sometimes, you know, I work at the Black Cat Jazz Club as a sound engineer, and and it's a block from the studio.
Oh, nice.
So quite often people be coming through on tour, and I'd bring them over to the studio, and we do a little trade. I'd record something for them and give them studio time if they put something on our record, and generally, they liked the chords because Kevin puts him together some nice chord voicings. So these guys were, titillated enough to want to do stuff, and so we got a lot of really great, members to the community, and we see it as like an ever evolving cast of characters we can call upon. And when we're on tour, we're going to be bringing them up as special guests when we go through their town and stuff. So it's going to give us but we still have a core group that, is kind of anchoring things while we play live. But in the studio, it's nice to be able to just let the pursuit of flavor guide your choices a little bit,
Well, if you guys could maybe pick a first song we could introduce the audience to, what of the ones that you've sent us in, what would you want us to play first?
How about we start with Maison?
Maison, that's great. I was actually watching that music video earlier today. We'll talk about that after this. Stay tuned. Local love. We're here with Seal Party. Join the chat. Ask questions. Have some fun. It's Tuesday night. What else are you going to do?
Exhausted, but you're stronger than you realize. Your legs will stay in motion. You got it without thinking. Each light on the highway leads you home. Siren can call you to a shipwreck of your own. Each breath is slowing down your time. Each left or right is drawing wrinkles in your mind. Now you travel to a warmer ride. Your legs will stay in motion. You got it, and you float a few inches above, and you hover and relax in your love. Carries you the ocean side. You got it, you got it, you got it. Each light on the highway leads you home. Each siren can call you to a shipwreck of your own. Each breath is slowing down your time. Each left or right is drawing wrinkles in your mind. So leave it behind. So leave it behind.
That, what you just heard, was Maison by our in-studio guest tonight, Seal Party. If you're just tuning in, we've got Kevin and Chris from Seal Party. So that was an awesome song.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Chip.
I had checked out the music video for that song. It was very, very bright and colorful, had a kind of cool, chill, like happy vibe to it.
Good.
Tell us about that song.
Yeah. So that one came about during the pandemic. I mean, the whole album came about during the pandemic, but the lyric came about. We had all the music recorded. We had the horns. We had the whole layout, right? And we knew the vocal melody, but we didn't have the lyrics yet. And what came about was some advice that I was giving to my son, because my son was having a really tough time, as everybody was. But
Pandemic was hard on kids, man.
Pandemic was really hard on kids, and he was in 4th grade at the time, and he was coming to a lot of our sessions. So he would hang out while we were recording. He would just be in the little vocal isolation booth with his laptop on Zoom, doing his classes from remote and stuff like that.
Oh,
but
wow.
he missed his friends, and he missed recess and all that stuff, and he was having a really hard time, and he was getting really down on himself. And one of the things that came up is, if you have these repetitive thought patterns where you're thinking really bad things about how, like, oh, nobody likes me or whatever that is, you're sort of digging these grooves into your brain, like you're wearing the footpaths into a path that becomes an actual walking path, and you don't want to like repeat those negative thought patterns. And that kind of led into this bigger chorus of, how you're looking at the world around you. If you're on your way home and you see the lights on the interstate, are those blinding lights that are antagonistic, or are they leading you to your front door? Are they helping you out?
Yeah, it's kind of like you do have a control over very little in this world,
Right.
but you can't control what you think about and what you choose to dwell on,
To some extent.
to some
Hopefully
extent.
you can.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to think we're better at it than we are, but it's nice to be reminded by, and to me, the feeling of being at home is kind of like, I associate that with sort of letting those things go, and you're kind of have a safe space not to be in those modes.
Right.
know?
Right.
So, and it was just, it was kind of, that's why we also set up the tempo of the song the way we did. We kind of wanted it to remind you to relax.
Yeah,
you know?
it definitely puts out that relaxed vibe. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And I would say Liam Wesley Craddock had something to do with that tempo idea too. So he plays percussion on this, and
we had a back and forth where we were like, we started the pulse of the song and it's in straight time into the tempo that you can count. And then I was like, I'm going to play that in halftime. And then he was like, I'm going to play half a halftime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it set up this really cool thing where you could kind of groove on it 3 different time pulses, 3 different pulses. Yeah.
Which made it really fun to sing to, and really fun to write vocal lines too.
Well, so being because that sounded very well produced, and it sounded like you had a whole ass band in there. Being a 2-person band, what is your guys' process for your production, process?
It
overall?
varies from song to song.
Mhm.
So a lot of times it'll start with either just a drum beat or just a set of piano chords that are done to a click track, and then we'll start layering from there. So at no point on this album did we ever have a full room of people. It was always...
Well, sometimes we had 3 or 4 at once.
Sometimes we had 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But we never had, say, 10.
No.
I think there may be 10 people on this track.
Yeah,
between
and
the
that
horns
was
and
one of the
singer.
challenges I try to take on as producers. Like, how do you make a record made with this sort of process and with all these people, many of whom have never met, feel like an ensemble?
Mhm.
And the way we did that was, I guess, we didn't set up your typical, okay, we're going to go through some chord changes and you just blow and take a big solo. We kind of had themes in mind, what I would call musical signposts, that enabled us to not tell anybody what to play, really ever, but get. We brought in really great musicians, so I got to say that. So they kind of knew what to do based on the information we gave them. They look at the chart, they hear what's there in the music, and we kind of set it up in such a way that it guided them toward an ensemble feel. But
and we knew what they sounded like.
Yeah.
So it would be, this person, oh, you're going to sound great on this tune, because it's 16 tracks. There's a lot going on. So,
but we ended up, sometimes it was Kevin and I playing together, and we would purposefully track the drums and piano at the same time so that we were not able to do any editing on those. And then we just layer. So we're trying to preserve a interaction vibe whenever possible, even you know, even if it was just a couple of us. And then we just made sure to carefully choose who to call in.
Yeah.
And you know, we were having to watch it because we're paying all those people. So we have to be, you know, we didn't want to, I don't think we had too many that we didn't end up using.
You don't got time to just mess around. We're
We're
go
not
there with
Steely Dan
intention,
here. We
you
don't
know?
have the budget to just hire 6 soloists on a song. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Right.
All right, guys, we're just gonna spend the week and see what happens. Fuck it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's got 10 different people playing this solo section.
Yeah.
We'll stitch
we'll
it
comp
together.
it. We'll comp it together.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
but we didn't have to even do that. Most of the time, it was just like we would get better results than what we would have asked for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, yeah, that's how you know you're doing a good job of producing a record. In my mind, you know.
So, in the event of a live show, when you guys take this into a live show, do you usually have other musicians that are just kind of like your backup homies that, hey, what's up? We're going to do a show. Can you come rock with us? Or how does that usually work?
Every show but one,
Okay.
we've had other players with us. We did one show as a duo.
Yeah, we
in
did one.
Pacifica. But every other show, it's been, for the most part, the same core people.
Yeah, Liam, the assistant producer on the record, works with me at the studio. He played bass on a lot of the songs on the record,
Okay.
and percussion on a lot of songs, and just basically helped me keep things straight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as we were managing all this, and he's usually down for the cause.
Yes, absolutely.
And so he'll be there playing percussion, bass, or guitar. He's like a utility infielder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was on bass for our first couple shows, and then he's been on percussion ever since.
And
Yeah.
on bass, currently we've got my buddy Spence Murray, who I played with in Pamela Parker's band for the last 6 years,
Yeah, Spence is brilliant.
and he's a great bass player. And he and I, because we've done a ton of shows over the last these last years, we're really good together and improvise well together. So he got excited when he heard the music. He did not play on any of the songs on the record, but really dug it and asked me if he could be, he wants to be in it, so he's kind of like jumped on board the party train.
It's always good to have like supportive people in your corner like that. Where it's like,
Yeah,
I might not
Yeah.
be like a full-on member of the band, but I'm down to help out where I can. Fuck
Yeah, I
that.
mean,
Rock and roll,
we
bro.
kind of structured it this time in the way that like the full-on members are Kevin and I because it's clean, and we don't want to necessarily. I mean, you get a 4-way leadership plan, and it sometimes is really difficult to get anything done. Like with 2 of us, it's really easy to make decisions and to just move on things and
Mm-hmm.
take risks. Everybody's risk averse to a different degree. And, when we were in Griddle, it was sometimes tricky to get an idea through committee.
How many band members were in Griddle?
Both of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then a third member of Griddle co-wrote a song on this record, and he sings the bridge, and he wrote the bridge melody and lyrics and all that. And that's a song Turpentine.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
So
still
Christopher
close
48.
with the Griddle boys.
Yeah, we're all still friends. and
But
stuff,
we
and,
that band just kind of ran its course after about 12 years.
Okay. Wow.
Mhm.
That's a hell of a feat to go longer than a decade with any band, really.
Yeah.
It is. And we put
Yeah.
out 6 really good records too, which I feel, is a big accomplishment.
Yeah, I'm proud of those records. And I'm proud that we're still hanging out and doing stuff together.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of, as my time with the Pamela Parker thing started to run its course, I was like, man, I just need to get back to writing with Kevin
Aw,
because,
thanks, man.
it's,
Well, I always loved riding with you too. And
yeah,
so I'm glad we're able to keep it going.
yeah, man.
And I'm glad that some of these people were able to get out on the road with us. So we went and we played 5 states in the Midwest.
Oh, that's great.
And Liam was with us and Spence Murray on bass. And then we had Mike Kmiechek play guitar with us, who's a buddy of mine from way back who lives in Indiana. So
Great
he met us in
guitarist.
the Midwest and then hopped in the van. And
We
took
actually
on the rest of
played
shows.
the 4th of July like fireworks festival in downtown Kenosha like a year after the Rittenhouse shooting.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
But it was
yeah,
exactly
it
a
was.
year after. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was it was fine. It was aside from the insane thunderstorm, like one of those thunderstorms that rolls in, and everybody starts getting the word on their phone, the Amber Alert on the phone is coming.
Right.
And in the Midwest, nobody really reacts to weather like they do out here. Like the storm we just got, that was like an average July thunderstorm in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And you know, they even continued with the fireworks display despite like the whole sky lighting up with lightning and shit.
Yeah.
It was
I'd never
really
seen
crazy.
that before. I'd never seen a thunderstorm during a fireworks show.
No, it was nuts.
It was fucking rad. I would love to experience that again.
It was very
hopefully
cool.
we can be out
It
there.
was a
for
little
another one of
scary though. It was sort of like, who's running this fireworks display?
Yeah, well, I was like, looking for the tallest metal structure. I was like, if there is a lightning strike, where's it gonna hit? Because that's always the get out of the pool thing. Is
Right.
You want to make sure there's an antenna somewhere.
Right,
So
you don't wanna be the
there
tallest.
were rides that people weren't on. So I was figuring that would attract the lightning. But no one died. So
right.
That's
It was
always
fine.
that's always a good show.
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. No, but we had a good first tour. We decided to hit the Midwest because I'm from Chicago, Kevin's from Cincinnati, so
Okay.
we decided, it's a new band, and even in the Bay Area, there's a certain extent to which you got to start from scratch every single time, even when you've been doing it.
Even when
in
you're
that-
established, if you're starting a new project, there's always that whole process of getting the ball rolling once again. So
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So we
Yeah.
thought, well, we know neither of us have played in the Midwest in a number of years, and we can probably mobilize some people to come out to these shows. And it seemed a little more promising than going to LA.
Mhm.
LA is tough
yeah.
until
Yeah,
you've
LA
got
is
some publicity behind you.
Right.
Well, you had mentioned earlier a song called Turpentine. You want to go ahead and give this song an introduction before we play it for everybody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say this is the most griddle-like of any of the songs on the record. And that's one of the reasons we start the record with it, because it's almost like a stepping stone from our last record into this new venture. And the fact that Christopher Fortier's fingerprints are so thoroughly all over it made that the way as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We also have our good friend Rich Armstrong did the horn arranging and played the trumpet and trombone parts on the record. And he passed away in early October after, and he was my go-to guy for horn arrangements and stuff. Anytime I get a client, I'm like, how can I involve Rich? And so it's kind of like this song. He opens the record and closes the record with like in Rich style, and again, just like with all the other people, but especially Rich, we didn't tell him what to do.
right. Yeah, and Rich Armstrong's all over this whole record.
Yeah.
But yeah, this first song,
He
the last song.
he really came up with a he did.
he did. And that was the last time I saw him was
At our show.
the release show. of
I
this
know. That's the
record.
last time I saw him too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to hear it here on Echoplex Media. This is Turpentine. You're listening to Local Love. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Seal Party.
Could be persuaded that I could be trusted. Never been liable, never been busted. I could be confident and all blameless. I could resist whatever charges the claim is. I could be fine in my turpentine. I could just marinate in coffee and wine. I've been thinking I'm taking too long. Not this time. I could be persuaded that I could be trusted. Grayed out and faded, dried out and rusted. I could be questioned without a conviction. Got my attorneys to peddle my fiction. And I could be fine in my turpentine. I could just marinate in coffee and wine.
That song that you just heard was Turpentine by our in-studio guest, Seal Party, and you are tuned in to Local Love, brought to you by EchoplexMedia.com. How you guys doing?
Doing well. So that was Christopher Fortier singing the bridge on that.
Okay.
And he wrote that bridge melody and the words on that bridge. And he and I hosted a rock trivia game show.
Mm-hmm.
We were the two hosts of a rock trivia game show
Called Low Fidelity.
Called Low Fidelity. Yeah, that was a sort of like play along at home while there are studio guests, while everyone was in their remote bunkers.
And
That
the
is
plan
awesome.
to do
A lot of
that
fun.
happened before the pandemic, actually, right?
Right. Roger
And then the
Gard,
pandemic,
the director.
the pandemic hit, and it was kind of like perfect because people needed cool shit to watch.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's only so much Netflix can provide when you're home all day.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Wow, that's pretty rad. So, like, what kind of genres would you cover? Is it a little bit of everything?
Everything.
or-
Yeah, we had some genre-specific shows.
Mhm.
We did like a punk rock show and an all hip-hop episode. We did an all Prince show once.
Oh, wow.
Because of the guests, the contestants
Yeah,
were.
based on the contestants
Yeah.
partly.
Yeah.
But it was kind of all over the map in terms of genre.
And
so
they,
it
were,
would be
they
things
would
like
get
Name That
like,
Tune.
local musicians, luminaries, kind of head-to-head kind
Mhm.
of style, competing head-to-head against each other.
That's
yeah,
pretty cool.
Yeah, we'd
Yeah.
have musical guests and people would play along at home as the show was taping live.
And I got to say that, it was great to see Christopher and Kevin kind of co-hosting because Griddle itself was kind of like a band co-hosted by them. It was a dual lead vocal thing. They were often singing, it was hard to tell who you were supposed to focus on, I was
Right.
told sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
hmm
But anyway, so yeah, and they just have a good banter back and forth that made Griddle really a fun show. I thought,
What would you guys do usually when doing a live show that you maybe felt made you really stand out, or what was maybe a signature thing of yours?
Well, we would bring random people on stage with us
Mhm.
too. We had a running thing with a gorilla character that would
and Ralph Carney.
Well, and Ralph Carney, not being a random person, but yeah, Ralph Carney would come up on stage and bring any number of.
He was
guitar
on like
horns.
one of our very first shows ever, and just became a fifth griddler.
Mhm,
That's pretty
mhm.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who he is, but he was like one of the most creative woodwind players, on the rock jazz scene. He was really interesting guy.
Man of a Thousand Horns.
Yeah.
He played the pocket trumpet and the woogie stick, and of course all manner of saxophone.
And we
trombone.
actually at his memorial we played one of his recent compositions,
Right.
Manifold Gates and Papadopoulos.
Manifold Gates and Papadopoulos. Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Man, say that when you're drunk. That'd be-
Check it out. It's out there, I think,
I'm glad you had the three names on the tip of your tongue, because I was like, yeah, Manifold Gates and Papadopoulos.
Man,
yeah, right.
I've been living and breathing this shit, unfortunately, from my sanity.
Yep.
This shit is some dark times.
Can I
If you're
say,
paying attention.
Yeah. Can I say how much I like the red bulb tone of this?
oh, yeah.
I always have red bulbs in my own bedroom, and at one point my now ex-wife was worried that we had these red bulbs in our bedroom, and during the day I would have like the curtains open, and she was like, I hope no one thinks this is a house of ill repute or something like that. Which it was not, but I really
Sadly.
find the red bulbs very relaxing and comforting, and yeah, it's like we're in a developing room developing film.
Right.
Plus,
right.
I mean, like most for the Tuesday night show, especially, we have musicians coming through. We all play bars, I think this is a little bit more, makes us feel a little bit more at home.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we do at the studio too. The spot where I get to work is
Mhm.
one of the only studios that's a premium, like world class studio that doesn't feel like you're at an office,
Mm-hmm.
or it's you don't walk in and feel like, okay, I can't touch anything here.
Right.
It's like you're in the living room
Right.
setting, kind
the
of.
clubhouse.
Yeah, the clubhouse, which is
Mhm.
why we call it Wally's Hideout.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Um,
So for the album, I've actually got a hard copy of the album right here. Well, actually, first of all, let's tell everybody where they could find your band. Maybe the best place to get your music and everything like that.
I would recommend going to sealparty.com,
Mhm.
which can lead you to your favorite social media platform if you'd like, or you can just buy the album right there, or download it or stream it.
Yeah, you can go to Bandcamp too.
Yeah,
That
you
works.
can go to Bandcamp. We're on all the streaming platforms. Seal Party has lots of nice bells and whistles.
Yeah,
and merchandise.
Yeah, the merch page
Ooh.
actually has a lot of fine options from our friends at Printful.
Embroidered hats and hoodies and
There's like we took a design that we generated on an AI bot, and it's now an embroidered like 6-inch circle in the middle of a hoodie. You know, it's kind of cool.
And anywhere you go, the eyes of the seal seem to be following you.
Yeah, especially if it's embroidered. Oh,
right.
Shoot, in the car I have the hat. I was going to give you the embroidered hat.
Oh,
I got a sample of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, we should have it on camera. I don't know what I was thinking.
For anybody at home,
you
can check those out.
But
there.
you could see the thing on the website.
And the album's there as well as the new songs that are going to be coming out in the coming months.
Yeah, and actually we're going to be doing a thing on the website. You don't know this yet, but it's going to be a thing where our singles are going to get pre-released on the website. So you want to kind of join our Facebook page. We actually have a Facebook group too that I think is even better because you'll definitely get the message. But we're gonna, if you watch the website, and we're going to be putting up content on the regular from our live shows. We'll put up little videos and stuff. And the singles, when it comes out for the next record, are going to get pre-released on the website.
That's pretty cool.
So you could download or stream the single even before it's released. So
as a band, do you guys have a social media of preference or anything like that? Or do you try to use them all equally, or is there some that you avoid?
We try to use them all, but I tend to prefer Instagram.
Yeah.
Something about Instagram kind of appeals to me a little more.
I've been just kind of handling the Facebook one because Kevin's doing the Instagram one.
Right on.
And,
well, that's cool to be able to kind of delegate.
Man, it really helps not being like a leader by yourself on some shit like this, because there's so much to do.
Yeah, the whole tag team pass the baton relay race thing works really well with the two of us.
That's very cool.
And Chris McGrew's fairly tireless, which I appreciate. I mean, I'm a night owl myself. And I like that he's often, burning the midnight candle. He's got sessions running late, so he's up when I'm.
You
up.
don't need to be motivated or to be, when you like what you're doing.
Yeah.
When you believe in what you're doing and you feel like, okay, there's a purpose behind this, and it becomes important to you just because of its own thing, and then you're. Yeah. I picked this because I was like, what would I be willing to work a 14-hour day on the regular doing, even right after college, and then I decided, well. Music was about the only thing I could imagine doing that without being angry at the end of the day about it.
I definitely get that.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly. All right. Well, I got a few other songs here. What song would you choose that we play next for the audience? What do you think would be a good transition to the next one?
You know what I think would be nice is one that has a really cool YouTube clip. Mm-hmm. We like YouTube a lot. We're children of the MTV era, so we like making videos. And this one was animated by our friends, Liam Hanley Cardozo and Daniel Hanley Cardozo, and it's called Never the Problem. Okay. But the 3D animation that they did for this song, I think
it is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Well, that's cool. When you're done listening to this podcast or watching this broadcast, you can go over to the Seal Party YouTube page and check it out for yourself. But in the meantime, here's the song Local Love, Echoplex Media. We'll be right back.
Staying home was never the problem. Staying home could be done a million ways. I remember you smelled like good coffee. I remember you back in better days. Going out could happen a million ways. Going out was never the problem. Going out could be done a million ways. And I will see you soon in a restaurant. And I will kiss you and we're back in better days. Going out was never the problem. Going out could be done a million ways. Staying home was never the problem. Staying home could go on 1,000 days. Staying home was never the problem. Staying home can happen a million ways.
That was Never the Problem by Seal Party, our in-studio guest. We've got Kevin. We've got Chris, the collective mind of the Seal Party. Now, how did that name come about?
That was Chris McGrew's idea, Chip. And I was all over it as soon as he mentioned it.
Well, I was just thinking that one of the purposes of putting this thing together is that I always felt like because we're doing this rock milieu, the guitars often covered up Kevin's voice, And I was like, we need to do a band that features Kevin's voice. We need to set up the voicings of the chords so that there's space for a baritone. And also I was thinking, what are we trying to do? We're trying to bring people together who might not otherwise have come together to have a good time. And it seems like, the party, it sort of brings to mind that we have to come together in a place. Mm-hmm. It's not enough to just be together in this virtuosphere and call it togetherness or, connection. Really, it's a great tool to enable us to get together, but without physical space and being together in the same place, it's just not the same. And so I kind of wanted to make reference to like, you want to be at the party, and it's kind of like, I've got because it's Kevin and I know him really well. I know that, I can get behind this and drive the bus and, we'll call it Seal Party because it's really about his voice, it's like
well, I appreciate having the room to be able to sing down low because I've sung in a bunch of rock bands over the years and they always want really high singers. And you can count on two hands probably the number of low voiced rock singers. It's just didn't happen that much.
There's Brian Ferry, there's David Bowie.
There's Mark Sandman
from
Morphine.
But those bands, they all had to take pains to make room down there. And so one of our tactics is we just have Kevin voice the chords and we write stuff on the piano typically. And the guitar makes you kind of gravitate to certain voicings just physically from, what's physically easy to play. So the songs kind of all sound similar in a way, and we wanted to kind of vary things at the same time that we're making space. So Kevin will just write chords and he'll voice them without maybe the left hand just kind of not playing as much.
Okay.
And that leaves space in there, and maybe he'll voice the things so that it's, I don't know, inverted or something so that the low notes are up top above what would be the middle notes sometimes, and some other tactic like that,
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah. I rely on Kevin for the specifics of these details most of the time.
Well, thankfully, he's got the ear for microphones and things like that, because that's also trickier. You have these nice microphones here in the studio that usually when you're performing live with a rock band, you don't have mics this nice that can pick up the lower end of your voice.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Chris McGrew knows all about that kind of stuff, so that's been easier live, too, than it's been with any other
we
band
got this really nice, AEA just came out with it. They remade one of their early 1950s ribbon mics that is end address, like that SM7 that you're talking into, Kevin. But it's a ribbon mic, and it's hypercardioid, which means the pickup pattern is very small and doesn't go really wide, and it's gives you an ability to just get because you don't want to get a bunch of drums in the vocal mic, but it's a very sensitive mic. It's also phantom powered, which is weird for a ribbon mic.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, the ribbon mics, they kind of naturally roll off a lot of the bright high end stuff. And this mic just sounds really good in the lower, frequencies that don't get picked up very well by it as M58, like you're typically going to be singing into.
Right.
And so, that enables Kevin not to have to push so hard.
And it's a good sort of, looking out into the future, because the older we get, the lower our voices are going to get, and the more the high end's going to roll off too.
Yeah, right.
So I like the idea of writing songs I'll be able to sing when I'm 70.
Let's keep it in my range, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I got you.
Exactly.
I definitely
No,
get that.
that's true. But
Mm-hmm.
when we went to see Roxy Music with Gary, I went to see him, and
Kicking myself around with it.
there were a couple of songs that they had to lower the keys so much because Brian Ferry's getting up there.
Mm.
I mean,
Sure.
I love the man, and he's a superstar for even touring at this time. But a couple of those songs were really altered because they changed the keys. They had to drop it like a lot.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. The inevitable march of nature.
Yeah. So we're thinking ahead there, but also we're out there just trying to have a good time too, and it's good that we're looking at it like we're hosting a party every time, and we've got and it's also a little bit of a double entendre, like political party, because we're bringing together people of like mind who realize that part of our power is in just our collective attention, even if it's like on a small scale to fill a room with joy. That does something. That's a spark.
And when we're out on the road, we can have different guests in every city.
Yeah.
So we're heading back out to Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Kentucky, Missouri in a couple months.
May 18th, we fly to Chicago.
May and June. And we're going to have different people with us almost every night.
That's cool.
And so, the ways that these are put together, it's kind of modular. So depending on who's there, we can have them jump up.
We've already got plane tickets for Spence and Liam and Kevin and I.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we get out there, we'll fill out the band with horn players and some singers and maybe hopefully a couple of organ players, maybe.
Hopefully a marimba player.
For sure.
There's a particular marimba player in Wisconsin.
Okay.
That I'm really, really hoping is going to play marimba on a show.
There we go.
Well,
We'll
as far as playing shows like in the Bay Area, do you guys have any venues around here that you prefer to play, or any favorites?
We do.
Any items that you got to knock off your bucket list, maybe?
Yeah. We got to play the Rickshaw Stop and the Ivy Room and Bottom of the Hill.
Nice.
And the Sweetwater.
And the Sweetwater up in Mill Valley. That was a bucket list one that I'd never played before.
They treat you so well.
They do.
It's a great-
We're coming back to Bottom of the Hill right before we head out on tour. So that's Saturday, May 13th.
It's a great venue. I love
I
that place.
love Bottom of the Hill so much.
Yeah.
Oh, and everybody there is just so freaking awesome to work with. And some of my favorite shows I've ever seen are in that room as an audience member. So it's a thrill to be able to play there. But we'll be there, an all ages show Saturday, May 13th with Comforting Chaos.
Which is Liam's band.
Yeah. Liam Craddock and Liam Barry.
Yeah,
have
the
this
Liams.
band, the Liams, Comforting Chaos. And Fourth Position. With
Which is a band
Joe
that
Carter on
I just
vocals.
recorded at the studio.
Sweet.
With featuring Joe Carter on vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Mhm.
great singer.
So we'll play Bottom of the Hill, and then we'll hop a plane and we'll go schlep around the Midwest for 3 weeks, playing anywhere and everywhere.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, I can't
We
wait.
had a great time last year, except
Mhm.
that it needed to be a little longer. So this time we scheduled a few more days.
That's always the case.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, after 3 weeks, so I'm ready to come home usually.
Yeah.
I'm not.
No?
Not usually. I mean, I miss my kid and stuff, but I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out a way that he can come out on the road with us and sell merch.
Well, he's not too far from
I mean,
that.
He's
type.
not that far. From
Technically, that's like life experience. You teach him some spreadsheets.
Yeah,
and
right,
He
exactly.
does some of his school online.
It's a
while
lot
on
better
the
than
road.
making him
Now
perform
you're
on
talking.
vaudeville,
Yeah.
that. Yeah, right.
You know, like, hey kid, you got to go work the sidewalk.
Right.
Get some patrons in here.
Yeah. Or you can use the tour budget to learn algebra.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm all for it.
All right, so if this venue holds this many people and we're selling this much of tickets, how much is this going to be?
I remember when I was
What is X?
What is X? Solve for X.
when I was young, my mom got remarried to this lawyer guy, and his big idea like that was to say, I'm going to give you some work as a paralegal. You know, so he was like, he had me doing research for like big cases and stuff, and it was like I did feel pretty important. You know, it is kind of cool. So maybe it's a good thing to do. Maybe we say, you know, hey, you're going to be our tour manager, but you got some
Give him a
responsibilities.
School of Rock moment. You know?
The rock moment. Yeah. Kids love helping.
He'd
They just
actually
wanna help.
he'd actually be a good tour
I
manager.
think
I
he'd be
think.
a great tour manager. He's way tougher than I am in terms
he's
of
tough.
negotiation.
He's tough.
He's stubborn. He's
Yeah.
so stubborn.
And he's also just one of those, you know, types of people that can give you the stoic, silent look, and you kind of feel it. You know.
That's right.
Well, let's see. So I got
We
a
love
couple
Philo.
songs left here. Which one would you have me play next?
I would lean toward Jimmy Just Clams Up.
Jimmy Just Clams Up? Cool.
And this is one that came together entirely in the studio. This song did not exist, was invented out of whole cloth in the studio.
It was just supposed to be pre-production day, you know, where you're in there writing and stuff. But we've come to realize sometimes it's good just to set up as if you're going to record, just in case you
Yeah.
nail it.
I
So
get that.
yeah, so there was a tiny bit of extra time. He turned on a click track. I improvised a chord sequence, and then weeks later, after taking it home and listening to it, we fleshed it out with melody and
Yeah,
other
actually, I think
instruments.
we kind of just wrote it in the studio. We kind of finished the lyric. You started a lyric, and then we kind of finished it up in the studio, and you know,
Yeah,
it came together fast.
it came together fast, and it didn't exist at all before we arrived that day. So this is really the one track that was like that on this album.
That's awesome. Well, you're going to hear it first here on Local Love. Stay tuned.
Jimmy don't see too well out of his left eye now. It keeps him from walking to the bodega very often. Jimmy don't feel too good in his left eye now. But every time he manages to get down the block, he sees that one lady who works the register, and Jimmy just clams up. One of these times he's gonna ask for a number. Jimmy woke up and got high, and it keeps him from walking to the bodega anymore. Jimmy got so high, he don't feel too good. But every time he manages to get down the block, he sees that one lady who works the register, and Jimmy just clams up. One of these times he's gonna ask for a number. Jimmy don't know what he's missing. Jimmy better be back tomorrow. Every time he goes, it's the last time.
Need somebody's thinking.
That was Jimmy Just Clams Up by Seal Party. And if you just are tuning in, they figured that one out on the fly. I like that. It was really bluesy. Had kind of like that blues rock sort of vibe to it.
Thanks. That's Sonny Climbs on guitar,
Yeah.
and that's Liam on bass. Liam Craddock.
Let me think about that.
And the late great Rich Armstrong on trumpet, Daniel
I
Casares
think
on
it is
saxophone.
Liam on bass on that.
Yeah, it is.
You know, the thing that was great about Liam's bass playing, I mean, we have all these wonderful bass players we can call in, but a lot of times, even though Kevin's not playing a lot of chords with the left hand, sometimes he set up a bass line while we were, especially on this things that were tracked just drums and bass. And sometimes what was required to really hold the song together was someone following that left hand. And you can't necessarily call Uriah Duffy in and tell him to follow Kevin's left hand. You could, but it's kind of a waste.
It's kind of a waste. Yeah.
So we did call Uriah in on a couple songs, but we let him do his thing, and and on the songs where we felt like, man, this just needs like the bass line has to be really elemental. Liam was like stepping right to it, and
so when you guys are in the studio and stuff like that, do you all play together at once, or are you multi-tracking separate?
We're usually multi-tracking separately.
On this record. I mean, I think it might go differently when there's not a pandemic. But this one we kind of had to do it that way.
And working with other musicians and stuff like that, are they sending you over their audio and then you edit it
That happened on a couple.
Sometimes it's that. Yeah.
But most 90% of it was people coming into the studio.
The song Juvie, people were sending in their stuff. Larry Boothroyd and John Axtell sent us their stuff.
And I guess the two songs Uriah played bass on, he did at home.
Right.
Cool.
Right. And Ben Misterka's guitar.
Too.
Right.
Yeah, those guys have such great home studios.
Right.
Keep it in the mic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. So a lot of the times it would be 2 or 3 of us laying down the basic and then inviting other people into the studio, having them add their layers onto it.
Yeah.
Ending up with the harmony vocalists and horn players near the end.
Okay.
Most of the reason that I didn't want a lot of like phoned in parts is just because a lot of that was happening and I was having to do a lot of that. And I kind of just wanted the excitement and the vibe of them. And also I wanted the sound of the room that we're working in to sort of come to play.
I get that.
So, with all the acoustic instruments, we did have all those come in.
Correct.
But sometimes, if it's a bass or a guitar part, especially if they're going to record it well at their home studio, it's like, well, let's make it easy on them. And you can kind of get a better performance because they're off the clock.
Yeah.
They can really, if they get inspired, they can really dig in and mess around and come up with something way cooler than they'll do if they're like trying to finish.
And they can sit on it for a while.
Yeah, they
and
can
germinate
chew on it.
And let
so
it marinate.
there are times where it's better to do that. And I think one of the tricks about producing is you just kind of have to navigate this ever-changing landscape where there are no real axioms. You kind of got to, there are no rules you have to follow all the time. You have to be willing to say, okay, well, this time, I think I could trust Uriah and I'll get something better if I just let him do it. But, a lot of times it's not telling someone what to do like you might think.
Yeah.
It's figuring out how to get them to do it on their own and, have, and in a way that makes them happy.
Yeah, and encouraging them to sound like themselves.
Yeah, sometimes letting somebody do it at home is good. But, I mean, for the most part, people want to come to our studio. And, it's kind of crazy how it's like a space. It's been recorded in for 50 years, so
historic room, Sly and the Family Stone, Jefferson Airplane.
You could feel it in there, so it
Yeah.
definitely affects how you play if you get out of the way.
I'd say so. I think getting to be somewhere where something cool has happened. Like for me personally, I've played at certain venues where I'm just like, all right, like some of the people that I look up to have played here, and it kind of hits you in a certain way. And I'd imagine that'd be a lot of the same type of feeling when you're in a certain recording studio or recording space where quality shit's coming from,
Yeah.
It's a sacred space vibe, it's
Definitely.
like just like when you go into a
on
church,
holy
you can
ground.
kind of feel it even if you're not into God,
No, I get that.
And I like that places have kept some of the remnants
Mhm.
of that. I don't know if you've been to the stage at the Monterey Fairgrounds where the Monterey Jazz Festival was.
Oh, yeah.
The burn spot. You're talking about
The burn spot's on the stage. They didn't clean up the burn
They
spot
didn't
where Jimi
replace
Hendrix
the
burned
wood.
his guitar on stage at Monterey Pop.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
there is
and-
actually
yeah.
a charred section of the hardwood stage.
Yeah.
It's
That's pretty
cool.
iconic, really.
Mhm. Absolutely. I appreciate that they knew what they had and they didn't want to mess with it. Yeah.
that was a crazy. I've seen the film 100 times. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah, that whole thing's pretty iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got another song by you guys called Juvie.
Oh, great.
Now, I know you guys also have a music video for this one as well. Can we get a little introduction for this song?
Yeah, totally. So this song is about marijuana and about
Cheers, Al.
cheers to that. And about the desire for people who had gotten into trouble, distributing or growing or consuming or whatever marijuana in years past, hoping that their records get completely expunged. Also hoping that the communities of color that were often targeted when crackdowns were made on marijuana in years past get to have an ownership stake in the building of the green economy that's growing out of this. But
yeah, I mean, we didn't really talk directly about all that stuff.
we didn't really talk directly about
I
that,
love it
but-
that we're trying to be a little bit opaque about things, and when we're addressing these political issues, because we're trusting the listener to connect the dots, really.
Yeah.
But it's it's a story about a kid getting busted for a couple of stems in his pocket and getting in trouble when he's in high school. But it kind of also, we chose that just because it sort of points to the silliness of like busting people for a plant.
I don't know, and
Right.
I feel like everybody I grew up with has something somewhat relatable to that.
Right.
Yeah, we all got
myself
hassled for having weed
included.
when we were in high school, right?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
If you didn't, you weren't trying very hard.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and play this song, Juvie, and I'm going to go ahead and smoke a bowl.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
you should too. But stay tuned. You're on Local Love.
The orange without a rind, the snail who left his shell behind, kept and still unknown, never far from home. The DA's face was kind, he was persuasive. The foreman stared at the table and spoke up slowly. The creaking of the leather chairs sounded just like a broken mattress, and every juror continued to look at the ground. The Ziploc bag on the stand, the cop said he held in his hand a pocket full of stems and 2 loose M&Ms. The kid scratched his arm, dreamt of pulling the fire alarm, and chewed his upper lip. I won't ever have to go to school again. I'll never have to finish that chemistry lab. I just wish my mom would stop crying. This really isn't that big of a deal. The bailiff turned him around and adjusted the cuffs.
That song you just heard was Juvie by Seal Party. Totally different vibe than the other songs that we heard.
Totally different vibe.
I like
Different
that.
players on it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's John Axtell on
Who
guitar
frequently
and on
has
guitar
played-
synths.
he's played a lot of
played
our local
live with
shows.
us a
Yeah.
bunch too. And that's Larry Boothroyd from Victims Family and Jello Biafra and the Guantanamo School of Medicine and Specimen Box on bass. The Guantanamo School of Medicine, which
Which is Jello Biafra's new band.
yeah. Larry Boothroyd's amazing, by the
Yeah,
way.
and when
He-
I first moved here in
Both of them.
'89 and throughout the '90s, those two guys were in 2 of my favorite bands, local bands, and Victims Family and Psychofunkapus was Johnny's band, and they were like, I was 20 years old at that point, 21, whatever. They were my kind of my heroes. But then over time, I became friends with them and played a lot of shows with them on the same bill.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they had never played together before working on this song.
No,
And they knew of each other because they were both like North Bay guys.
Yep.
Santa Rosa, Petaluma.
Yep.
And they had not ever played together until being on this song.
Yeah, so
And-
this is a perfect example of the Seal Party mission. You know, we're bringing together people who should be hanging, who just haven't had occasion to get together.
right.
And there's a lot of common ground between their musical lexicons, that
Right.
they use. So it was cool to, put them together on a track.
And Larry Boothroyd just put out an album that came out last week called Remote Communion. That's a double LP on Secret Serpents that's entirely made by him sending around tracks and people sending in stuff from all over the world.
Yeah,
Various home studios.
Kevin and I both contributed.
Yeah, we're both on that record, and Christopher Fortier and Jello Biafra and
Yeah, actually,
myriad others.
I'm on
Nolan Cook.
The track that I'm on is with Nolan Cook, Jello Biafra, and Larry, and who else? No, I guess that's it.
Mm.
Yeah, the reunion, class reunion song,
But yeah, Specimen Box is
Yeah.
that, and
it's a beautiful cover. It comes with 3D glasses.
mhm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, the work that goes into album art. I've always been appreciative of that. So
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
that's-
And we were lucky that Tony Calzaretta went to
Man,
town. Tony Calzaretta, who's in New Mexico. at
He
this
did
point.
that cover that you've got over there on the CD.
So I've got the CD right here. You can see a much better version of it on their Facebook or Instagram. But you commissioned somebody, or was it a friend of the band? Or?
Yeah, Tony Calzaretta, who had done album covers that I really liked
Mhm.
for people like Love and Knacked and Il Mondo and Michael Zapruder. He had done a bunch of covers that I was way into. And so thankfully he was up for working on this one, and I love what he did.
Yeah, I love it that we got somebody who sees album art as its own form and really kind of specializes in it.
Yeah.
Rather than, hey, let's get a graphic design or a photo and modify it to a 12 by 12,
Yeah.
frame.
Mhm.
Well, do you give them kind of the idea? Are you saying, hey, this is what the album is about? Do you let them listen to the album?
Let him listen to the
how
album.
Okay.
Yep, let him listen to the album, and gave him, I think, basically the text that we knew was going to appear on the CD.
Mhm.
And he had it for several months, I think, before
We talked even.
we talked. Yeah, we let him kind of like stew with it. But it's sort of like having the musicians we had in the album, where we're like, you do a Tony Calzaretta thing, it's open terrain, and you have lots of time, just bring to it what you feel with it. And so after listening to it a bunch and going out into the desert outside wherever he is in remote New Mexico, he emerged from the desert bleary-eyed and sweaty with
Yeah.
with this idea.
I mean, we did have a little conversation, but it was, mostly, we were trying not to be too, we were trying not to steer too much,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always interesting the other nuances that someone will bring to it if you leave it open a little bit. And I think it's just when you're young, you're like, okay, I've got to get my vision out there. I've got to get it clarified. I've got to get people to understand me. And at this point, I'm trying to create understanding.
Mhm.
It's a different intent. I'm trying to, and that creates a different method, I think, or
Yeah,
brings
I
about a
definitely,
different method.
because I've talked to a whole lot of bands through doing this show and just through growing up in the music scene, and I would say there's definitely, it's usually one of those two schools of thought. It's either like everything's got to be structured and on point, like they're a human Excel spreadsheet, versus like the ones that are just kind of like we've all got a general idea. This is a collaborative effort. Let's kind of see where this goes.
Right.
And there's really no like right or wrong way to do it, but it's always cool to see what works for
Mhm.
people, because
Yeah.
And it can be different depending on the album and even the track. You
Yeah.
know?
Even
You
the
may
track,
have a really, really concrete idea of exactly how you want a certain track to be arranged, or you have a loose set of chords that you're really curious what Keon Harold is going to sound like on it. Or
Yeah. well, I'm
Yeah.
always going to be curious to see
Me
what
too,
he
me
sounds
too.
like on it.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think part of it is just being open to even a rigid plan.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's part of being, you just got to be open to letting the song kind of drive the thing. And that's also why it's good to have just two of us making final choices. And obviously we want the input of the core members. We want them to like the music and have fun.
So do you?
but,
So
yeah.
being a duo, do you guys usually have a set time where you're like, all right, this is when we're going to get together and play our music? Or are you guys just shooting each other texts throughout the week, just being like, you know what would be cool here?
It's closer to the latter.
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
days.
these days it's closer to the latter.
There was a time where we got together 3 days a week and practiced in the griddle days.
True.
And I think that the reason we can work the way we do now is because we had that period of time where, you know, I think we developed some shorthand that makes it easier to do things the way we do now.
Yeah.
I wish we had more time, but it's a busy world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about touring. Is you hit the road and you have to focus on what's going on. Like I like riding on the road. Yeah, I like just being in a van out there in some other state where I don't know that many people and I can just have my blinders on
It
and
is
be in
kinda
full seal
nice.
party mode.
Just to be in the mode of like, okay, my only job today is to like get to the next place and play a show.
Yeah.
It feels great.
Oh, it's
you
great.
know?
Yeah.
So then, do you guys have like other jobs? Like, what's the Bruce Wayne to your Batman? You know, like,
Yeah. I work 4 jobs actually.
shit.
Yeah. So it adds up to 40 hours a week. So it's not like I work 2 crazy hours, but I teach choir.
okay,
That's what I'm doing early tomorrow morning. I teach choir at a couple different schools, actually. I'm the organist for the San Jose Sharks.
okay. I was gonna ask
Fuck
you about
yeah.
that, man.
Fuck yeah. Go Sharks.
Yeah. It's a rough season, but
Yeah.
still, I'm
It's a rough
you know,
season, but-
I'm a San Jose native. I love them.
Yeah. Nice. Good. Well, if you want to come to a game, let me know.
I'll holler.
Yeah. So, I do the San Jose Sharks organ stuff. I play a bunch of sort of gigging bands, you know, tribute bands, wedding bands, corporate gigs, that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
And then I analyze music for Pandora, Sirius XM.
That is awesome.
So yeah, between all of that, it's a busy week, but it works out.
Well, it's also cool that you know, because I've met plenty of people who are like, you know, I'm like an accountant during the day, and I just rock out with my band. Like everything that you do is all music adjacent, and that's cool that you're able to kind of incorporate that to what
Thanks.
you do.
Thanks. I used to work for the San Jose Mercury News actually back when I was in my 20s.
All right on.
Before I sort of like was able to eke out more music stuff, I wrote all the theater listings. So I would come in and I shared a desk with Dan Gilmore. He would work the night shift and I would work the day shift. And I would write all of the little like one-liners for all of the theatrical productions all over the Bay Area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're basically the voice of the man in the pink chair, the man in the chair.
Well, I wasn't writing reviews, so I wasn't the whole like I'm semi out of my chair, I'm standing up out of my chair.
You're more like Mr. Movie Phone.
I
but
was
for the
more like Mr. Movie
newspaper.
Phone,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
Movie Paper.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
That's
Cool.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. It was a fun gig.
And
And then
I,
you work at a studio. you
yeah,
work at a music
I'm a
studio as
partner
well?
in this studio. We 4 of us lease out Studio C from the owner of Hyde Street Studios,
All right.
and it's a studio that has 4 commercial studios in it. And Michael Ward, the guy that's owned the Hyde Street Studios since 1980, doesn't want to run the calendar on all 4 rooms, so he leases out the other 3 and just uses the downstairs studio. And he's got a guy named Jack Kurtzman that is managing it. So it's kind of a hands-off owner. Like, you know, he kind of leaves it to all of us people that lease studios there. And it's kind of like this weird, thriving community of people in the hallways running around just like it has always been.
Cool.
You know, having fun, making music, talking shop, you know. So that's my main thing. I'm one of the producers that brings clients in and makes records.
That's great.
And that's what I'm happy to say that's what I get to do.
That's
I have
awesome.
I think I have 6 albums in production right now for various bands and songwriters, and a voice, and I'm wrapping up an audiobook. So, you know, I kind of just run that studio like I'm, you know, as a service and try to make it affordable for bands, and get to work with some high profile artists sometimes, and get to have access to a world-class studio to make my own stuff. So it's kind of cool.
That's
And
killer.
then I sort of split that up with, I'm the lead engineer at the Black Cat Jazz Club, which is a block from the studio. And
Easy commute. It's important in San Francisco. Or
yeah,
East Bay
so
and
I've kind of
everywhere in the Bay Area now.
I've been working there for the last 4 years, and have, you know, tried to build a reputation amongst all the musicians that they're going to get treated well by the sound team, and among the people that go to see the show, that the sound's going to be really good. So I've been really enjoying that. It's nice to get paid to listen to the best jazz.
Oh, the Black Cat's such a fun club,
Yeah,
too.
and,
I have such a great time.
He curates. The owner goes to New York and finds the best bands and plucks the sidemen, Robert Glasper's band, and says, "Hey, why don't you come out here and come out here?" And he brings bands out for 3 days and 5 days sometimes, and they just get to do a little residency. And so anyway, I've been doing that, and between those two things and playing in Seal Party, I'm pretty busy. Yeah, so
Beats the alternative.
yeah, and I pick up gigs here and there for other people's bands and recording sessions, and it's a little different. I used to be more oriented toward being in lots of bands and playing gigs as often as possible, and I miss some things about that. But I do spend more time practicing and working on my technique now than I did then. Then I used to just work on the songs I needed to learn for the next thing, and now I'm kind of more working toward gaining more control and fluidity on my instrument, and bringing the drumming stuff I'm bringing to that energy is just all for our efforts, and so yeah. But I feel pretty good having music be my life.
Well, yeah, it's a hell of a thing. I mean, you guys have a really well produced sound. I've seen your videos. Your videos look good. It's clear that you put in a lot of effort and energy to what you do. So I really appreciate you guys making your way down to the studio and everything like that.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening and putting in the time.
Yeah, and then once again, if you could just let everybody know best ways to follow the band.
Yeah.
Sealparty.com.
Sealparty.com. Yep.
Wonderful. Everything you need to know and more will be there. This has been yet another excellent episode of Local Love. Thanks again for making your way down to the studio. We've got one last song by Seal Party here. It's called You'll Be Fine. You want to go ahead and tell us about it real fast?
This one's the last song on the record, and it's just like I guess maybe you should introduce this one.
I'd be happy to. So
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, this one had been kicking around for a while when we first started putting the songs together for this record. And a lot of this record dealt with sort of self-care and trying to get through difficult times and trying to navigate unsteady terrain and that kind of thing. And this song deals with that, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. You're going to get through this. You'll be all right.
It's uncomfortable to have, your whole perspective change the way that is happening to us all. We're having a consciousness shift right here, and we're sort of in the midst of it, and it's uncomfortable and weird. But yeah, as things fall apart, new things emerge, and that's kind of like, good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And this one ends with a solo by Rich Armstrong. So
yeah,
we were really lucky to have gotten to work with him as much as we did. He was a really beautiful, brilliant guy.
I'm sad we don't get to play more shows with him.
I'm sad we don't either. But he was also a great music teacher. He taught the music programs at the Waldorf School in San Francisco. And
oh wow, I actually went to the one in Los Altos.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
it was a weird experience, but it was a thing.
Yeah, it was a thing. Yeah.
That's wild.
Interesting. Well, I would love to hear more about
much love to Rich Armstrong.
Yes.
That's super cool.
Yeah, he really tore it up on this one. He kind of ends the song on a high note, so to speak.
Right
ends
on.
the album on a high note too.
Well, hey, you're hearing it here on Local Love. This song's called You'll Be Fine. It's by our in-studio guest tonight, Seal Party. Stay tuned. If you're listening live, we've got more Red Light going on after this show. But if you're listening to the podcast, thanks again for listening. Please share it. Just text it to somebody. Don't even give them an explanation. Just send it. Your odds are pretty good of somebody listening. We'll see you next Tuesday. And this is You'll Be Fine by Seal Party.
It may all be fiction, everything you're told. A comfortable stranglehold is loosening. The money that you know is digits on a screen. The money that you have seen is worthless now in stacks of green. But you'll be fine. You can find water in the strangest places, and traces of oxygen in the darkest of stars.
If you like what we're doing at Echoplex and aren't into Twitch, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/Echoplex. For $5, you can get every show from beginning to end sent to you as an MP3, even the stuff we bleep out because it's too spicy for Twitch. Echoplex would not be where we are today if it wasn't for the community support we receive. Find out all the ways you can support the show at echoplexmedia.com/support.